What in the world? I almost forgot what I watched and was going to talk about right now.
Hello there, camera people. Hello, motivators. So first of all, excuse my voice. My allergies have really been kicking my butt, and now I feel I had lost my voice the other day, but it has come back. I feel like I sound like a little weird, but not like too weird, and I can talk enough where it's like not hurting me. But anyways, if you're new, welcome to Familia. If you're returning, oh my gosh, thank you for returning to this crazy channel. And if you don't know who we are, me and my sister run the Motivate Their Beauty News Instagram, and now we're here on YouTube, just sharing our love for makeup. Now, today's video is very interesting because I didn't even know what to call it. I want to get some use out of my makeup, and I have some deck of panning makeup here that I wanted to try on camera, so you know there's proof that I actually am using the products. And then there's some new stuff I haven't even dipped into, so I wanted to do that, but I didn't want to be bored because I get bored so easily, or like, I don't know, I have to be doing something while I'm doing my makeup. So why not talk about a TV show I just watched on Prime Video? So I think I'm going to call this Makeup and TV Talk, or Movie Talk. TV show talk, I don't know. It's going to be like makeup, movie / TV talk, right? So we're going to be talking about the new Prime TV show I watched called The Consultant, okay? While doing our makeup. And I will be like saying everything I'm using and put it in the description box, okay? Do that, and let's get started. So if you don't want any spoilers, or you just want to know a little bit more information before you watch the TV show, then keep on watching. Let's start off with a primer I haven't used, and it's in my deck of panning, the Power Grip Primer by e.l.f. Tacky, but not too tacky like I was expecting. I'm very surprised, so I'm guessing it's supposed to make your foundation last longer. And, you know, I'm trying to smell. It doesn't have a smell, but it is a little tacky. Not as tacky as I was thinking, just a little bit. But this Consultant Prime TV show that's on Amazon Prime, if you watch shows and TV shows there, which I feel like they've been killing it. Like, I feel like a lot of the stuff they've been coming out is interesting, especially like these animations they've been having, which would be probably in another video. I saw this new TV show pop up. I like TV shows, you know, like any type of TV shows, if they're good, But, side note, I mainly watch a lot of fantasies. Now, I'm going to read from the Prime Video because I have it here on my iPad. The Consultant, and it has a little description. After an unspeakable tragedy at Compware, a game studio based in downtown Los Angeles, a mysterious consultant, Regis Patoff, blows into town and takes charge. Okay, so if you don't want any spoilers, like I said, this is your warning. Don't watch this. But if you don't feel like you're going to watch it or stuff like that and you want to know more, then by all means, continue watching. It's supposed to be a comedy, suspense, drama. We're at Compware, which is like a tech video game world, right? A video game world. And I'm going to use a brow lift right now. And I just use an Anastasia like brow wiz that I ran out of. I used a spoolie for this. Okay, and they're at this tech place, you know, where they create games and stuff like that. And the owner is like super young, like I think he was like barely in his 20s, early 20s. And starts off where there's like a group of like students, like children that come, and you know, the first main character comes in and she's like, oh, you know, like, welcome to Conquer and stuff like that, and basically says, oh, y'all can definitely meet him if he's not busy, like the owner and stuff like that. And looks like it's starting off pretty good. Like, okay, I want to know what's going on. I'm intrigued. You have reeled me in. Why are they here? And then these kids look like they go to a very expensive private school. But as she's talking, someone's like, so do you think, like, do you like the owner, like their head, you know, the boss? She's like, you know, I feel bad for him because, you know, he's so isolated and stuff like that. And so she does like him. All of a sudden, gunshots occur. Gunshots. And I'm like, what the heck did this guy, like, because they're talking about the guy, and I feel like that was really good, like, dialogue, and whoever, you know, did all that, I feel like it was good because it led you to believe that the main guy, the boss of this company, shot these kids. But now, lo and behold, she walks in there and there's a child who has a gun and was like, I want my mommy. And it was all crazy from there, like, and just suspenseful, like, shot the main head boss and, you know, a little kid. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? And so there's also another main character, I believe. There's the guy and this girl. They're not together, they're just friends. But he happens to be the brother of the guy that was on Hereditary. And I'm like, what? Because I convinced my sister, let's watch this because it looks like eerie, like stuff like we like. It was just intriguing. Today I'll be putting on Judah's Place a Magic Natural Radiance Foundation. I think I'm just going to be putting it on with my hands. I still haven't found out if there's supposed to be a tube, but that's how it came. So I'm just going to be putting it on my face, I guess. So anyways, so you have Craig and Elaine. Also, Craig is supposed to be getting married. He has a fiance. But it seems like in this, he is definitely paying attention to Elaine more. And they're kind of like trying to figure out what's going to happen to them because, you know, they were making pretty good money from this place. But now the head boss has passed away, you know, unexpectedly. So I'm going to rub this with my hands. So they actually go into the company and are by themselves. And then they hear, while they're talking and stuff like that, they hear the door open, or like, and the doors are pretty big for this place. They hear the door open, they're like, what? And she's like, did you lock the dang door? And he's like, I don't know. Of course. Of course you don't know. I feel like this is way too light for me right now, and I thought I got a good color. Oh yeah, I forgot that it does change color once it dries down. I'm switching to a sponge because I feel like it'll just be faster. My fingers are too small. Okay, so they're in there. Somebody just comes in and is like, I'm here to work. And it's the main character, Christoph Waltz. And he's like, I'm a consultant that, you know, your boss hired me. And they're like, what? Sir, you can't go in there. And he wants to be taken to his office, which is now is like him taking over the company. And they're like, what the heck? Who is this kooky character? Because he really just doesn't care. They're like, there was a tragic accident. Like, he's not here. And he's literally just ignoring them. He's just ignoring them. And basically just starts setting up. And Elaine lies about her position because honestly, nobody knows what she really does. She's just there. She really doesn't do anything in the gaming, like gaming wise and stuff like that. She's just literally just there. And she says she's like a creative liaison, something like that. So she basically boosts up her title. And all of a sudden things start to change. It's a little fishy. This guy comes out of nowhere, starts taking over. I'm like, dude, this guy has made a deal and like probably killed this guy on purpose, right? The main character. That's me thinking. And we come to find out that because while they keep sneaking in this, or like Elaine is closely watching the main boss, but Craig is also closely watching Elaine. So he catches her like during lunchtime or some type of, I feel like they get so many breaks in this company. Like, what the heck? Are they even working? But he's watching her and she has stuff in her pocket. He's like, what is that? Her like, nothing. Of course, she gives up what she has in her pocket, and it's all these little cameras. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's illegal to be watching without consent, especially it's based in California. So Elaine explains that it was the boss, you know, he was paranoid because somebody took his like candy. I'm like, really, dude? And told her to put up cameras. So there was cameras that were hidden, and she was taking them out before, like, I guess they got caught. Oh no, I do not like how this foundation looks on my nose. Oh, of course, they're like little investigators. So they're like, how did he acquire this company? And they look at some footage and they see there's no audio, but they see this consultant talking to their boss. And then right away he signs this paper. And they're like, what the heck? Did he just like threaten him into this and stuff like that? And there's a lot of changes going on. Like, he's got his books out, this consultant, and he's definitely like taking his job seriously. I put on more foundation to make my nose look a little better. It's looking a little better with more. I feel like it was really light and now it's not too light. And if it's lighter than my skin tone, I'm definitely gonna like bronze it up. And somehow he has like the stairs to that office that he acquired is like glass and it's super high, and this new consultant has a fear of that. And I was like, why are they throwing this fear of like walking up the stairs into this, right? And then we figured that out later on. I like how the film is, and like the, I don't know, suspenseful, like what's going on here, like who just takes over a company. I'm using the LYS Triple Fix translucent setting powder with an Eco Tools brush. This is very soft and I like this for setting. And so, like I said, that's gonna play in later, but okay, I'm like, Elena and Craig have something going on, but no. They're not sleeping together, they're just friends, and it sounds like fiance is jealous because once they start having this new consultant, he's spending a lot of time, like, it's like a new adventure for them and for him to be close. I feel like he gives a vibe that he does like Elaine and spending time with her. Fiance is beautiful, but she's like, you hanging out with Elaine again? And he's like, no, we're just going over, it's just, we're talking about, like, you know, we're just talking about the new guy that's taking over and stuff like that. Right. Sure. You have no feelings at all. So anyways, the consultant is like, you can just tell he's one of those bosses like, excuse me, you're a minute late, you're fired. When he gets there, he's like, well, then I'm gonna see everyone at this specific time, and if you're late, I'm sorry. And then tells everyone to come in. Everybody's thinking that it's closed down, they got a job, but he's like, you need to be here at this time. And then there was people that were working from home, and they showed, like, they had like a video thing of them, and he's like, you better be here or consider yourself terminated. I don't care if you're working from home, you are now going to be working here. And I'm like, what the heck? Even Elaine's like, what is going on? And in the beginning too, like, he's smelling something weird, and she's like, what are you smelling? And he sniffs her, which like gives you that weird vibe, like, who the heck, this guy is a weirdo. Is he like, you know, a perv or something like that? And like all these red flags, right? Like, this guy has to be like, he's not real. Why would our boss make a deal with him? So it's leading up to that question, like, how did he acquire this and what the heck's going on? Today's bronzer, I'm going to use this new bronzer I got from Ulta as a matte bronzer, Summerland Beach from ColourPop. Okay. Putting that on my Zoeva Luxe Grand Powder brush. I've had this for years. Very, very good for bronzers. Now, when he says that announcement, okay, everybody starts coming in the next day, and then, you know, Elaine's there early because he called her early, like at 3 in the morning. She's just like, yeah, you're calling me at a late night. Yeah, I'll be there at 8. Yeah, when she said 8, the consultant hung up and then called again. I need you. And so she ends up going super early because basically she didn't want to get fired. Like, you know, people should have definitely made that, right? But thing is, someone's coming late and it's a woman in a wheelchair. And Elaine's like, but she has a wheelchair. And he locks the door. Sorry, but she had transportation. Like he has no mercy. Like, oh, you want to be treated like, like there's nothing about you that's wrong. Which I was like, what the heck? Then sorry, you were late. You are now fired. I was like, what? Yeah, I was like. So the consultant seems like he's a no. Like he doesn't put up with anything. It doesn't matter who you are. Also, he then announces to Elaine, like, oh, I found out where the smell's coming from. And it's from this guy who has like classes and stuff. And I think, maybe he doesn't shower all the time. That's the impression they gave. And he didn't want him fired because he's taking care of, like, he needs this job or else, they kind of say, he's going to spiral downhill. So Elaine's like, well, I'll take care of it. He's like, well, you better, because if I smell it, then it's you and him fired. And she basically hands him a bucket. So it's like, this consultant is making Elaine and other people, like, I don't know, just feel uncomfortable and just do stuff you didn't think you were going to do for a job. So Elaine does that and gives him and it's very degrading, giving someone a bucket and like saying, oh, you know what, you stink so much, like, you need to wash yourself. Like, what the heck? But he does it. The guy does it anyways. He's a higher up. He does it anyways. And then, who comes into the picture? The head bosses. The boss that passed away, the mom comes in. But all she knows is Korean, because he's Korean. And she's like speaking something, and it gives you like the subtitles. Then she goes up there and was like saying a speech in Korean. That consultant ends up knowing Korean, and it's like, oh, okay, and speaking to her and making all these, I don't know, it just looked fake. Like he was definitely like faking, like, oh, in Korean, like, come here, I'm so sorry for your loss. And when she says this like speech, he just misinterprets it, because at that moment it shows what she said and what he said, and he's like, she says to honor her son, work harder. Really, dude? Really? So I'm like, wow, something definitely going fishy. He's like, oh, I'll take care of you. Has a long conversation with the mom, and all of a sudden, the mom's walking out, and the company itself already like gets like hotels and stuff for people. So Elaine made sure to be like, oh, we have a hotel ready for her and stuff like that, and oh, I can drop her off. But he's like, oh, no, I'm gonna see to it that she gets there safely, which is also weird. I'm like, oh my god, like in my head I'm like, he's going to the mom. Oh my gosh. So he does end up leaving with her, and Elaine's like, what? Ends up checking up and talking with Greg too, and like, she's missing. She never left. We can't find her. So I was like, oh my god. I'm gonna be using a blush from the Sugar Pill capsule collection. It's pink. I'm gonna use Melody with my Unearthly Brush A4. Okay, so Craig has his own situation here, because that consultant was like, oh, I'll go, have a drink with you. Basically like, oh yeah, all weirdly, oh, I'm so excited to hang out. Like, what the? They end up going to this place, and Craig, I don't know why he would get so drunk with this new person who has this weird vibe. You could just tell, like, if you don't feel that vibe, like, I'm like, really? Then you're not good at reading people. So he ends up there, and then he's with a girl that has prosthetics, and he's drunk, and all of a sudden they get in the car to like return home, but there's someone in the car who is tied up. Okay? And he's like, what is going on? And the guy's like, well, basically we gotta get, you're gonna do this with me, like, be a man, right? The consultant is like saying, basically you're in cahoots with me and stuff like that. And he's like, oh my gosh, he's playing it off like, yeah, sure, I'll be in cahoots with you. They end up stopping at a gas station. He checks, because actually that consultant says it's a boy, and when they stop at a gas station, Craig reveals that it's the prosthetic lady that they were introduced to, and she's like, if you want to know the truth, talk to so and so, and I forgot the name, but yeah, I feel like a lot of blush today. A lot of blush, because I'm going, like, get ready with me to go nowhere. Yeah, so let's go back to finding out the girl that you just met with him, and it's like it looked like this consultant was all like intrigued with her and like trying to make moves with her. Find out she's tied up in the back of this van, and Craig's like, oh my gosh, and releases her, and then the consultant basically says, wow, so that tells me who you are and if I can trust you. The consultant comes up with this cover story to tell Greg, like, wow, to make him feel bad for not going in cahoots with him and like kidnapping someone, and who knows what would have happened after that. But says that this girl was like someone he knew, and she had a drug addiction, and now like he was literally trying to stop her from doing stuff to herself, doing her stuff to herself and be far gone, because the parents hired him to get her out of that situation, stuff like that, right? I'm like, that's wow. Of course, he kind of believes it. The face of, thank you kindly for interrupting my video. Yeah. Of course, Craig's like, what? Okay, and he's drunk. Now he just feels kind of violated, but Greg's also been working on this, like, game of like elephants and animals going on like this glass platform, and it breaks when you have the right stacks or stuff like that. So later on, Elaine is talking to this new consultant, and is basically, the consultant's like, your boss has had this place awry. Okay, you ran this place to the ground because he's talked about all the finances and stuff like that, and that he was bleeding money. So the main boss passed away at a perfect time, because the company, he says, literally only has 2 weeks after looking at all the books, and he was going through like all these numbers, like what's going on, stuff like that. And later on he also goes through numbers and names, and it's like, who's this? And Elaine's like, oh, that person's on personal leave, if you want to avoid a lawsuit because of like mental health or stuff like this. Like, and he starts crossing them off. Sure. And she's like, what? Like, he starts crossing off so much stuff, like, okay, that's a waste of money, really getting these books going. And it sounds like he's concerned, but then he starts to reveal to Elaine that he knows more about her than she thinks. He tells her Elaine stuff, then she's like, how do you know this? Like, well, I look at the files. I'm looking at the files. There's always like, paper files, because she's like, I thought all the files were online. He's like, no, there's like a file room. And she's like, what? And can't believe it. Like, what? A file room? Like, I've never heard of this. And basically gets curious and goes and starts searching for this room. She actually finds it and starts like reading stuff, and enters it without, like, makes a copy of the key, enters it, tells Craig about it, and starts smoking like a cigarette in there. And basically the consultant goes into this room of public records, and he's typing, and then he sees like a cigarette with lipstick on it. I'm like, girl, like, you're not in stealth mode. You are not in stealth mode. So I'm just patting that primer out. It's on Anastasia Beverly Hills primer out with my finger. I don't know, my little brushes. And so he basically changes the locks, and then she knows, like, oh my gosh, he knows that somebody's been there, stuff like that. And they're just trying to research him. They cannot find his name anywhere, but they can find, I think, like his aliases and stuff like that, like associated with bigger companies where their main people have died, and all of a sudden this guy's name shows up, which is crazy, right? Like, it's just a whirlwind. So Craig is having, like, he thought he bonded with the guy, made this game. We're going back to him, and he's like, what? He likes my idea because he pitches this idea, and the guy's like, okay, send it to me. And then Elaine, of course, tells him, like, you realize we only have like 2 weeks and we're literally going to go under. We need this game. And so he steals like a skin and already like a skeleton of an older game they had to make his game. But during this time, he downloads like the prototype to the consultant's phone. But it's for that, but it's actually spyware that he has put on there secretly. So he found out this name that they were looking for of this guy that Craig had told Elaine about. That girl with the prosthetic that was tied up said, hey, look for so-and-so. Found that number, and he was like, we should go. And she's like, we cannot do that. Like, like, it's going to be so obvious. So he ends up lying about where he's going. And mind you, the fiance is already suspicious. So he ends up going, saying he's sick, and like, I can't come in. And by himself, not with Elaine, but just by himself. And the consultant was like, oh yeah, you're sick? Okay. And starts made a huge announcement at work, like how embarrassing. I'm also going to be using the Singe Beauty brushes. This is an E3 with the Give Me Glow Pastel Dreams, part of my deck of panning. And I'll list the names if I'm not saying them, but basically, it is so embarrassing. Like, oh my gosh. The consultant is like, he has fallen ill. One of our fellow employees has fallen ill. That, like, basically is almost saying deathly ill, and Elaine's like freaking out, and he's like, hey, she gets a call from Craig, and it's like, oh, hey, I'm actually gonna go explore and see who this guy is. And she's like, what? Oh my god. So he gets to this place, and it turns out, like, this guy is all like secret. It's like, I don't know who you're talking about, but it's because this guy, the consultant's an enemy to him, or like he's scared of him. And he's like, oh no, I'm not actually a friend. Like, I want to know. Like, I see him every day, because the guy said, oh, he doesn't exist, which is another eerie thing. Like, what do you mean he doesn't exist? And this is It's So Fluffy shade from here. Ugh. Okay, and so this guy apparently is like, oh, he doesn't exist. And then when Craig comes out and says, no, I'm not actually a freaking friend. I just want to know what's going on. Who is he? And the guy's like, oddly, you really get no information of, but he's making small little parts. And it looks like bone parts. When I look at it, I don't know if anybody else noticed that. If you did watch it, let me know. If you're just here for me to tell you about it, that's fine. But it looks like he was making body parts out of gold, like little bones out of gold. And I'm like, where is this going? Like, what the heck? So it's been good. The show's been good, like all the in-betweens, because I'm not telling you everything that's happened, because it's so like eerie, and just like little micro things are like, man, this guy is crazy, because he also makes the company people fight over a position. Like, well, a spot has opened, and if you want it, let's see who wants it the most. And those people were vicious, crazy, even pulling a girl out of the office for someone else by her hair, and there was nothing anybody was doing about it. So I know, I feel like I'm putting a lot of yellow. Let's go for Queen of Clouds. Okay, and so this is still the E3. So I'm like, what the heck? So he finally gets information like, okay, he's making some gold parts. Okay. And you're like, what does that have to do with anything? So while he's over there, guess what ends up happening? His fiance shows up like, I want to eat lunch with him. And he's not there. Elaine tries to cover for him, but the consultant is right there to be by her side. And it's like, oh, he's not here. He became deathly ill. And she's like, what? He didn't tell me. She's like, oh, he didn't? And, his fear of stairs, he still has a fear of stairs, right? This consultant guy. And the fiance happens to be like this nurse or something. And I was like, can you help me? And she starts to help him, like, almost break his fear. And as soon as they go to the top of the stairs, He's like, oh my gosh, thank you. Kisses her on the lips, and she's like it's almost like he planted. It's weird. It's almost like he planted a seed. Like, oh, you wanna, like I'm here. He's not, which is so weird to me. I'm like, how did they set that up? It's like something came over her, and she's like, oh, okay. And she goes home. Craig happens to be there because Elaine, of course, is telling him, dude, your girl's here. You're about to get caught. And he's like, oh, I can definitely trick her, basically. So he's there. I was like, oh yeah, I wasn't feeling good, so I decided to stay. Lo and behold, she checks his phone, and it's like she sees a text. I'm using E2 just to get in this little dry patch area from the singe. So she sees those messages. Really, dude? Like, you can unlock your phone? Like, oh my gosh. So she sees that. She's like, oh yeah? Ends up having this fantasy, even at, like, because they go to, like, this Catholic church, but she's having a fantasy of being with the consultant. And I'm going to use an E1 back this La La Land. And basically, she's, like, having fantasy, and finally, like, shows up to his office, like, all prettied up, and I'm like, what are you about to do, girl? And, like, kind of ends and gives you, like, leaves it up to your imagination, you know what I'm saying? And Craig ends up, like, she's been missing. She didn't say anything. She's been missing for, like, a while, a couple days, or even, I don't even know. It doesn't even tell you the time frame. And sometimes I skip through TV shows if I'm like, oh my gosh, just give me to the good parts. Because it wasn't just, like, it started to fall off of, like, what's going on, like, towards the end. Because there's 8 episodes. La La Land is so pretty. She, like, just ends up going with him, leaves it to your imagination. So I don't know where the heck she is. I don't even know if he has a house, this guy. But Elaine's just like, what's going on? It's like super suspicious. Starts researching more. And then it starts going into, like, these flashbacks, right, from the past. And it shows what happened between their boss and the consultant guy. So basically, he's offering, which I didn't expect, he's offering immortality. Basically offering them to, off themselves to live forever, because that's what they're thinking about. And some type of weirdness, like, I'll take care of everything else here, so your name will live on forever. I'm like, what the heck? That is creepy. And they agree to it, but he's like, oh, I have time. No, that contract was, like, for it to happen right away. And he's like, what? And he still agreed to it. So this was an agreement with their boss and possibly other people. Them being immortalized by by somebody offing them, right? So I'm going to go back to Queen of Clouds with the same E1 brush, because I feel like I lost some of that color. And it's like, what is going on? They're agreeing to this craziness. Like, this guy must have a good speaking voice or some type of trance between them of, like, people agreeing to that. And I'm like, what? I'm like all confused. Like, huh? Oh, does that look good? I feel like that looks good. I'm going to get the Singe E4, and I'm going to get Magic Mint. I feel like I need that. This is all matte. Get Glow is so beautiful to blend and pigmented. Girl goes missing of Craig. Elena's, like, figuring out, like, what is this guy up to? How did he acquire this? And then it's going to the flashbacks. So it is true that it was given to him, the tech place, and he's like, I will make it how you've never seen it before, because your books, he knew that his books of record were just like, you're you're not a good business person as far as money and how you're letting things slide because you want people to experience it. It almost looks like a Google in there. I'm going to use a small E5 and blend out the edges with Twinkle Twinkle. Alright. Yeah, so there's all this craziness happening. Going back to the past, having like those flashes come up. And then actually Elaine ends up finding the mom. So the mom's still alive, so he didn't kill anyone. And she's basically living a lavish life. Then Elaine also finds Craig's fiance, and she's like in a trance typing for this consultant. And basically, because Craig is so like down and like he's bonkers, and because also this is what happened and what created him to be bonkers is because he missed that day. They changed the name of his game that he created and kind of cut him out because he wasn't there. And I'm like, wow, this consultant is brutal. Like, you ain't here, and I know you're faking. Your name's gonna be cut out of whatever you created. So he's basically so down and just like lost it, and he's just like has this hammer and is cornered the consultant, starts smashing the glass platform that they have to go upstairs, and basically it's glass platform everywhere to all the rooms, and smashes it, and basically this guy ends up dropping down, the consultant dying, and apparently there's a severed toe. Craig ends up keeping the severed toe. Elaine ends up getting control of the company. I'm going to put this lippy on. It's called, this is Milky Gloss Salted Caramel Shake flavor from NYX. Or NYX, I don't know. Whatever you say. I'm going to try this on without a lip liner to see if I do not need one. Oh, it feels thick. Very thick. And I need it because my lips are pretty dry. Oh, it does smell like salted caramel. Oh, I like the color, but I do need a lip liner to define my lips. So, but let me just speak about. She ends up getting this whole company. Of course, there's a lot more information, but ends up getting this company and like what she moved on up. While Craig is looking like he got a little bit better, but I don't know if he's working there. He doesn't say that. And this is a season. I don't know if they're gonna have a season 2 or what. Like maybe it's just one of those shows that's only good for like one. That's it. Which some of them have been coming out like that. Let me go grab a lip liner. I'll be right back to tell you the rest of it. I ended up. I couldn't find my liner, and I didn't want to waste time. But I ended up putting the ColourPop bronzer with this little lip brush a little bit around my lips, and I think it looks good. My opinion. If it doesn't, oh well. I think all I have is highlighter and mascara. I'm using this highlighter from J. Cat's Crimson Gleam. It's part of my deck of panning too. I use the brush I put my blush with, the A4 Unearthly, like a pinkish tone. I feel like it would go good with that pink blush I have. Whoa, okay. I haven't tried this highlighter and I'm already like, okay, pretty good. I don't think it's creating a cast. Wow. Okay, now for the mascara, while I say the ending part. So while Elaine has this wonderful job, and I'm pretty sure Craig does not, because it looks like, oh my god, he's gonna be with her, and they just kind of tease that, but he definitely doesn't get the girl. And I guess those words were actually spoken by the consultant. Says, you don't even get the girl. That's what he said. He basically cursed him. So then we see it cut to the scene, and this is that controversial mascara I'm using, which is actually pretty good. The telescopic lift. As you can see, like, look at the difference already. This is just one dip, one coat, and I'm just gonna be separating the lashes. So Craig has the dang toe. the toe that was severed from the consultant. And I'm like, what is he doing? And in my mind too, I'm like, did he figure something out? He starts to boil it. And I'm like, okay, he's boiling it. Has he gone so far? Like, is he so far gone that he is resulting to eating people? That's what I'm thinking. But lo and behold, he actually removes, like, you know, all the tissue and stuff. And the toe of the consultant is gold. The toe bone. I'm like, what? So then I'm like, I'm in a whirlwind in my head. I'm like, so is this whole time the reason why the consultant's giving off this weird vibe and seems almost inhumane and just like evil, is it because he's not even human? And I'm like, what? Was he made entirely of gold? Because how does his toe get severed and it has a gold bone unless he's made entirely of freaking gold? There's no record of him, stuff like that, and he's taking over all this tech. It looks like tech stuff. Maybe he was trying to create maybe there's multiple of him, right? It starts to make me question, was he trying to create I don't know, like AI that could take over jobs because he took over these techs, he took over he took over that company with prosthetics. At first, okay, it started off good to me, the show. Suspenseful, I'm like, what's going on? But then when it got to almost the ending, I'm like, and then it reveals like, oh, they signed their life away, and then it reveals like, oh, it's a gold toe. It just didn't make sense to me. I'm like, oh man, I got scared. I'm just like, it was kind of like a letdown bombshell ending for me. Oh, I forgot to mention, like, everyone was rescued, like, the fiance, but now ex, like, they split up, and they're okay with that. But anyways, you're gonna end it, like that, like, okay, Lynn, she took over the tech, okay, and then the guy ends up being, like, the consultant ends up not being human. Like, it wasn't ever, like, leading me to believe, like, I guess that's the whole point, like, that something in here was, like, fantasy and inhuman. So what was his purpose? Was he trying to make, like, AI happen? Like, take over almost like Skynet? And you're getting a whole Terminator thing going on. I was just like, okay, what was, like, the purpose? Because I really liked the acting and the suspensefulness until it started getting towards the end. I'm like, are they running out of, like, ideas and stuff like that? Like, maybe they're gonna make a season 2, but I don't know. I highly doubt it, because I feel like, honestly, like, the ending was just a letdown for me. Like, okay, can you give me more information? Because if I'm confused, I'm pretty sure other people are confused. Like, what was the whole point of the show? Like, this Prime show, like, it's suspenseful, all that. Really, sorry, there's like a lot of people that decided to race down my street. I don't even know why, because it's a neighborhood street, and definitely you shouldn't be like driving here all fast and crazy. Anyways, so I didn't like the ending of the show. I was so intrigued, and they caught me, draw me in, but somehow they kind of fell off the whole like the plot and stuff like that. Like, I left very confused. I had to like kind of like put two and two together and go read, like, okay, the ending explained. If I have to do that, because I'm pretty good at guessing, like, I'm pretty good at guessing endings and how shows are gonna like come about and stuff like that. Like, I try to predict too what happens is pretty fun, but when something like totally leaves me confused, I'm like, what was the point of it? You know, like, why did I have to go and search up like the ending explained? You know, so I was just like, oh, I was kind of disappointed that it was good up until, like, for me, the last part of it. But now that this is kind of dry, I'm gonna put that Rise and Shine shimmer without any glitter glue. Oh wow, and I feel like it's already like super shiny. And I'm using the E1, which definitely picks up shimmer well. Like, what the heck? Look at that. There's no primer. There's no glitter glue on here, which I usually use literally on all my shimmers, and already this is amazing. The look is done, and I hope you liked our little talk here. But if you're thinking about that TV show and now you don't want to watch it, sorry, but if you still want to watch it, I say go ahead. Maybe you can figure out some stuff that's going on, and maybe if there's going to be a season 2, I don't know. But if you like this and doing my makeup and getting some use out of this makeup, definitely like, subscribe, comment down below for any new ideas, or even the name or titles that I could use for future videos. And you have a great rest of the day, night, weekend, whatever this video lands on for you. Enjoy it, and I'll see you in the next video. Adios.